Hello everyone, welcome to Skeptic She, or welcome back. My name is Lauren. Thank you so much for being here. I did want to take a quick moment to thank the over 1,000 subscribers on this channel now. That is amazing. Thank you so much. And I especially owe a thank you to Jimmy Snow's show, The Line. He invited me on so graciously. I was on there last weekend with Godless Engineer. I will post a link to it down below if you would like to check that out. And also, most people who watch my videos, according to my analytics, are not subscribed to my channel. So if you like what you see here today and you want to see more, please do subscribe to my channel. Today we are going to be starting a wonderfully entertaining and kind of embarrassing and revealing series called Cringey Christian Ethics, in which I read you the papers that I wrote in my high school Christian ethics class. Let's go. The pro-life movement, or what can more accurately be described as the anti-choice movement, rose to prominence in the United States around 50 or 60 years ago as a reactionary response to the second wave feminism movement, free love / sexual liberation, and a number of high-profile abortion cases. So even though the anti-choice movement is arguably quite young in the grand scheme of history, it has somehow permeated virtually every corner of religion, even some secular corners, but especially evangelical Christianity. And abortion has become one of the top, if not the number one issue that single-issue voters in the United States base their voting decisions on. And here's the thing. I was no exception. I was absolutely one of those Christians who 100% thought that abortion is
murder.
I think it goes without saying that I no longer feel that way at all. It's a little bit shameful, but also I can't really blame myself for how I thought back then because I was very, very indoctrinated, and unfortunately so are millions of other people. So we're going to read my high school Christian ethics paper on abortion. This was written early in 2008. I had just turned 17. This is what 17-year-old me thought about abortion. Let's do this. Abortion is an issue that has had many people morally and ethically on the fence and uneasy for years. However, it seems that a majority of people, with or without a religious background, come to the conclusion that abortion is wrong and can safely be considered murder. So that's just my intro paragraph, and already I'm like, girl, citation needed. In fact, when I looked up a little bit more about the history of this, it turns out that as the pro-life movement was rising, at least rising in the public eye, the pro-choice proponents were increasing as well. In fact, the majority of people have remained pro-choice since Roe v. Wade, basically. I defined what an abortion was. It's defined as the premature, induced termination of a pregnancy, and it has been a common decision among women around the world since the early 20th century, and my teacher wrote in red pen, or longer. According to recent statistics, and this was from 2005 to 2008, America kills more babies. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I was graded on something so inflammatory, but that's Christian private schooling for you. America kills more babies in less than 36 hours than soldiers it has lost in over 6 years of war in Iraq. This is not how any of this works. That is not a fair comparison to any degree. Oh, poor me. Okay. Approximately 46 million abortions in the United States alone have been performed since 1923. Those who are considered pro-choice or in favor of abortion most often do not consider abortion to be murder, but rather the ridding of a problem. Oh my gosh. I cannot. No one is going around being like,
yes, I'm so stoked to get an abortion today. I'm so pro-abortion.
Like, that's not what pro-choice means. It means that you believe in whoever has the ability to get pregnant. It means that they have autonomy over their own bodies. That's all it means. Yeah, and then I put the word problem in quotes, and it's just very condescending. But also, it's kind of accurate, because yeah, raising a child in poverty or abuse, or having parents who resent them, or putting the mother's life in danger, or the uterus holder, whoever gets pregnant with them. It's a problem if someone's life is in danger because of a pregnancy, whether it be the kid itself after they're born or the person carrying them. So that's a problem. I would call abortion getting rid of a problem. I certainly would. I feel like I'm like roasting Girl Defined or something. I hate that I wrote this, but I also, like I said, don't blame myself. This was half my life ago. It was a very, very different time. They do not consider the living creature inside of a pregnant woman to be a human being, much less one with human rights. Instead, the life is considered to be a potential human being that cannot be fully seen as such until after it has left the womb. Yes, that is correct. You cannot be an autonomous human being while you are essentially a parasite relying on somebody else's body. Unfortunately, abortion can evidently and obviously be seen to be the killing of a human being with just as much of a right to life as any current human being walking the earth. That is not correct. Many arguments have been made to justify abortion, stating that the unborn child is either subhuman or only a potential life. I get really redundant in this, apparently. For example, some attempt to use the Bible to stretch their justifications, stating that lack of breath or lack of knowledge can render an individual as subhuman. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 declares that man only lived after God breathed life into him, and Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verses 3 through 5 states that a stillborn child never knew anything or walked the earth, and according to the pro-choice stance, this child is just as good as a dead person. I wouldn't use the Bible to justify anything. Like I've said a million times, this is just another example of the Bible contradicting itself or being open to so many different interpretations that then leads to all of the different denominations that are in Christianity and Catholicism and all the tension in the Western world. So good job, Bible. However, such passages have been used to discuss observable life, and it is made clear that the Bible considers there to be human life inside the womb. If the unborn are considered subhuman without knowledge or earthly experience, then those who are undereducated or ignorant could be less human than those who have an abundance of knowledge. Furthermore, from a Christian perspective, even a person who is dead still has life and has it eternally. Big irony there, because a lot of pro-life / anti-choice people do not care about what happens to a child after they're born. They're just pro-birth, and so therefore they don't care if people are undereducated or ignorant. And a lot of racism and classism comes into that, as we see a lot of anti-choice people tend to be conservative and tend to be anti-government assistance and anti-actually helping that child to have a chance at a decent life. So it's kind of funny that I said that about pro-choicers. But as we know, irony is often lost on people with this mindset. The main statements made by Christians who are pro-life explain how God plans every human life and purpose before he or she even exists in the womb. Several Bible verses, such as Psalm 139, verses 14 through 16, show how God created beautifully intricate plans for each day of the unborn's life when none of them yet existed. Other verses refer to a baby as a child, a boy, or a girl while it is still in the womb. Well, I mean, we still do that. It's just like common terminology. Therefore, the unborn can easily be seen as a human being with equal rights to those already born. I just keep repeating myself. Apparently, I really wanted to drive that point home. Most of the time, pro-choice arguments are non-biblical, which is funny because, as we established, some verses have been used to support the pro-choice stance, whatever. Most of the time, pro-choice arguments are non-biblical, and they are often in the mother's favor, defending her right to make choices about her own body, safety, and privacy. Yes, why are these bad things? How in the hell does anyone think that a mother's right to make choices about her own body, safety, and privacy is a bad thing? Oh, end of the sentence. Pro-choice arguments are also in favor of avoiding giving birth as the result of rape. I would hope so. Other non-biblical pro-abortion arguments try to appear to protect the unborn, from abuse and neglect. Also, humanity can be saved if a child who is likely to be born with a deformity is never born at all. That's kind of accurate, depending what the deformity is. They always talk about like, oh, you can have late-term abortions or abortions in the 9th month or whatever. Those are in cases where someone's life is in imminent danger. Like this, if this kid is born, they are going to die immediately, or they are going to suffer severely for a period of time and then die. So in that case, the potentially more difficult decision of terminating that pregnancy is actually going to be morally better, if you ask me, for everyone in the long run, because you're reducing suffering at that point. So I then say, the first response to disprove these justifications is that an embryo is not in any way an extension of the mother's body. What? How? Having its own brain and fully formed body systems within the first few weeks of pregnancy, in parentheses, which is another point to show that the embryo is a human being. Where did I get this information? None of this is based in science. I am so sorry, 17-year-old me, that you had to go through this and outgrow this thought process. This is awful. Also, a mother's safety due to unwanted or unplanned pregnancy is only at stake in less than 1% of all cases, so termination of a pregnancy in this case would hardly, if ever, be necessary. In 99% of all situations, a pregnancy is willed. Oh, so there I am guilting people for having sex without wanting to get pregnant because, this is not at all about controlling people's bodies. Then I say, therefore, pregnancy by rape, I shouldn't be laughing when I talk about this, but oh, holy shit. Therefore, pregnancy by rape is rare, and even when it does occur, killing the baby does not end the crime of rape or console the mother of her experience. While that may be true that having an abortion doesn't fix your trauma of, being sexually abused, how is going through with that pregnancy and attaching your trauma to your child potentially, and potentially seeing your abuser's face and features and personality in this child, how is that reducing harm for the one giving birth? Horrible argument. Let's move on. Since pro-choice sees an unborn child as a human being, abortion does not avoid child abuse, but instead is the worst form of abuse in and of itself, essentially a cruel induced death. And my teacher underlined, instead it is the worst form of abuse in and of itself. He underlined that and wrote good in big letters next to it. But why did I say pro-choice sees an unborn child as a human being? Or I think I meant pro-choice maybe admits that? I don't know. But even without the first half of this sentence, I am claiming that abortion is not only child abuse, but it's a cruel induced death, basically murder. Finally, most of the people who want to abort their child for the sake of avoiding deformity have not dealt with deformity themselves. Citation needed. The handicapped, not PC, people with disabilities, do not promote abortion of those in their situation, and the unborn have a right to life on earth despite their physical or mental situation. Again, there is such a spectrum of mental and physical disorders, and a doctor is going to know best in that situation. Well, you would hope that they would know best in that situation. Again, if they're going to tell you, hey, this kid is going to suffer severely after they're born and they're not going to live very long, what is the better option here? To allow them to suffer? And what if they're going to have a huge chunk of their brain missing and they're going to not be able to communicate and they're basically just going to be a vegetable their entire lives? Is that reducing harm to carry out that pregnancy? The pro-life responses to all of these attempted pro-choice justifications seem to be based more on common sense. Just want to slap my 17-year-old self across the face. And a Christian background is not even necessary to observe that abortion is wrong. Okay. To emphasize this, many who find abortion wrong have already had a personal experience with it, whether they had one performed or they were abortionists themselves. Is abortionist a word? Okay, so before I finish this sentence, I have to respond to that statement where I say many who find abortion wrong have already had a personal experience with it. That is definitely the case for some people. You know, they will have regrets after, but there are so many different circumstances in which someone will terminate a pregnancy that, you know, again, even if someone does regret it, it is not our job to legislate that they can never ever go through with terminating a pregnancy. Like it's not anyone's business but the person who is pregnant. And if they make that decision and regret it later, that's not our business. That is their business. Is it tough? Do we need to have some sympathy for them? Sure. But is the problem that people get abortions in the first place? No, not at all. At some point, they, meaning people who had abortions, were able to see the results or even the actual process as it occurred, realizing the gruesome, ruthless nature of the act. This is awful. I'm sorry, this is awful. Anyone who has seen an unborn baby's body being literally torn apart after the baby has violently tried to escape the medical tools used to take its life would have to be beyond sanity to find any comfort or morality in abortion. This is quite possibly the most sensationalized thing that I have ever seen written on abortion, and I wrote it. My, how far we've come. And we have finally reached the conclusion to my wonderful 17-year-old evangelical / Lutheran / Catholic written paper. No matter the situation, people, or influence surrounding a pregnancy, abortion is an all too common occurrence that is in no way justified. Two other options that are far superior to and far more emotionally and physically appealing than an abortion include raising the baby. Super easy, right? It's just like, quick decision, let's do it. Let's change our entire lives. Or putting it through adoption, also just like super easy and quick and accessible. Both of which give the mother fair options and the baby a fair chance to experience life on Earth, even if it's horrendous. With or without a Christian background, or any religious background for that matter, one can see the horrid effects that abortion can have on an unborn child, not to mention on the emotional state of the mother, the doctors, and everyone else involved. By any definition, abortion is the wrongful ending or murder, there it is, there's the word, of a human being, and it is an act that hopefully will attract the right attention and dissolve into extinction in the near future. Well, I got a 37 out of 40 on this paper. Apparently I was missing some citations. No shit. Got a good job and an A. Yay me for being a piece of shit. All laughter and cringiness aside, I do genuinely find it frightening that so many people still think like I thought when I wrote this paper, and I'm hoping that that mindset continues to die off and people with uteruses continue to have their bodies be protected, their autonomy protected, their safety and privacy. I did want to say, because I am not a scientist by any means, there is a lot of great information out there about the science behind abortion and a lot of things that actually made me feel even better about the pro-choice stance. One thing that comes to mind that I would highly recommend you check out is a video by Rachel Oates and Thomas Westbrook of Holy Kool-Aid. They did a wonderful video a while back that I will also link to below. For example, they talk about how abortions usually occur when the fetus cannot feel pain. In fact, I think that's like 99% of the cases, except for, like I mentioned, in situations where the child after they're born will die if the pregnancy isn't terminated beforehand. I am not the best at explaining all of the science behind it, but like I said, it gave me a lot more peace of mind. Not that I wasn't going to be pro-choice before that, but I just thought about, you know, what if there really is pain involved for the fetus? Not that they're like conscious of it necessarily, but I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I really, really would appreciate, and I'm sure Rachel and Thomas would appreciate, if you checked out their video. It is so informative, and that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, thank you so much for over 1,000 subscribers, and to everyone who was involved in getting me on the line. Maybe I will see you over there again. With that, thank you again so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, keep asking questions, and I will see you next time. Bye. According to recent stats, America kills more babe. I can't even get through this sentence. There's such a spectrum of mental. I'm making up words, as always.